All right, everybody, welcome to another review here. This one's for Superman 2025. Of course, I'm Angel the Jackal, and I've been looking forward to doing this review for a minute now. So, here we go. Superman 2025. What did I think of this reboot? Now, let's get on first and get the big old question out of the way. Am I a fan? Yeah, I'm a Superman fan. I'm a DC Marvel fan. I like movies. I like Superman. I like superheroes. I like comics. And I've been waiting for a good Superman movie since my whole life, really. The best Superman movie that I've ever seen came out in 1978. I was 1.5 years old, folks. I was born in '77. I didn't get to see it cinematically. I was able to see Superman 4: The Quest for Peace, and well, that's not a great way to introduce somebody to Superman, but it was Christopher Reeve. I already had grown up with him as my Superman from having watched him in the '80s. I got to see Superman 2, 3, and then 4 in theaters. 2 and 3 I didn't see in theaters, but I saw 4 in theaters. Fast forward, I saw 2006 Superman Returns in theaters. I saw Man of Steel in theaters in 2013, and now went and saw Superman 2025. As a fan, I've been disappointed every single time I've gone to see this character in cinema. Superman 4, not a good movie. Superman Returns, not a good movie. Man of Steel, not a good movie. And now Superman 2025, not a good movie. And I don't understand how they keep failing Superman over and over and over. And every director kind of like does it their own way, right? So James Gunn's going to do his own take, which is fine. I have no issue with that. But if you're going to do your own take, and you're going to recast again, which wasn't needed because you could have just done Men of Steel 2 in your own way, and you could explain because of the Flash, reset, the universe, and, now, even though it's Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck is no longer Batman. The Man of Steel 2 picks up where Man of Steel 1 left off, and that, Batman v Superman, Justice League is all erased. There's so much stuff you could have done, as a director and script writer to kind of fit it all in. In fact, he's doing that with Peacemaker season 2. So it was kind of like a lazy idea to just recast again, where you already have a good actor, which most of the fans like in the role. But he's a director, he's running DCU, and this is his baby. So I'm not gonna get into that too much. There's really been too much on that online. But as the movie itself, the rest of the cast, Rachel Brosnahan as Lois, she was okay. I mean, I wish she actually had more to do in the movie. I didn't like the fact that she's already 3 years into knowing Superman. They're dating at in this point in the movie, so you never get to see her experience her being like a reporter that doesn't know that this guy's Superman who that she works with, which I thought would have been neat to at least like have that part of the storyline. The fact that she is dating Clark uh, was kind of like kind of a cheap way to like just throw it in there. There's always a fun back and forth where Lois doesn't know that she's literally sitting right next to Superman, but the glasses give him the perfect disguise. That's always been kind of an in joke, and they failed at that in this movie. Pa Kent is still alive. Ma Kent is still alive. Um, the Pa Kent situation kind of like really threw me for a little bit of a loop. I don't understand why he's alive because one of the main lessons Superman learns is that he can't stop natural deaths, which is what I loved in the original 1978 cut where Pa Kent dies of a heart attack, and why I didn't like Man of Steel that he dies waving bye bye as the storm comes around and takes him, and takes him away. So that bugged me in that movie, but I love the original where he dies of a heart attack, and it's a lesson in life that Clark learns about how fragile human life is. That we're here one day and gone the next. Look how we just lost the immortal Terry Bollea Hulk Hogan, heart attack, gone here one day, gone the next. And this is sadly life, and it's a lesson that Clark learns in the comics, in the movie, 1978, and really should always be a lesson in every incarnation. So the fact that his dad's still alive was kind of a little bit bugging me, or Paquette's still alive. But I think the worst part of like the family aspect of Superman in this is the Jor-El, um, and that whole storyline where we find out that him and Laura sent Superman to Earth to conquer Earth and reseed it with Kryptonians. So basically, it's like the same storyline as Superman Men of Steel in 2013, where Zod comes to Earth because Krypton is, of course, gone, and he wants to like repopulate the planet with the Codex inside Superman. But here, instead of the Codex and all that other stuff, they're just like, hey, Clark, Superman, Kal-El, Superman, whatever your name is. When you go to Earth, make sure you have a lot of, do a lot of that with the girls. Repopulate it, spread your seed, man, because you, sir, are going to be the one Messiah on Earth. You're going to rule the planet, you're going to conquer, you're going to bring us back, and we're going to be there with you. But you have to, have a lot of moments. So, do what you got to do this, son, and make us proud. Conquer the planet. So, basically, it's the same storyline as Man of Steel, where he's, used in a way to repopulate Earth with Kryptonians. Which to me is funny because it's following storylines which we've already seen. Uh, they often have done that in the last three reboots. Uh, Man of Steel copied the whole Krypton on Earth, New Krypton from Superman Returns. Same thing, Lex wanted a new land. He wanted to create Krypton on Earth. Then Man of Steel had Zod wanted to create Krypton on Earth, and now here's Jor-El wants to create Krypton on Earth. So it's like, can we stop with trying to create Krypton on Earth? All right, can we stop with this as a plot line? Please, just stop it. There's, look, I don't want to hear about Lex needing land. I don't want to hear about a new Krypton on Earth. Can we get a new storyline for the love of God? Um, I think the most troubling part in this movie was, uh, that part of it really bugged the hell out of me. But the rest of the cast was like, they hyped it so much on the actual, like, trailers and stuff, like, oh, Nathan Fillion as the Guy Gardner, like, and actually, he probably was the best in the cast, Nicholas Holt as Lex Luthor, and, he was probably the worst thing in the cast. The only one that I kind of giggled at once, in the movie was a joke between Metamorpho and Guy Gardner at the very end of the movie, and that was semi funny. But other than that, the jokes didn't land well for me. Didn't really deliver. The payoffs were poorly written, and the character of Lex in this movie is so mishandled. It's downright laughable how Nicholas Holt plays him so over the top, so silly, so stupid, and Lex is supposed to be like this evil mastermind, evil genius. He almost has this like weird, like almost I want to say Special Olympics award winner. That's kind of like the way he feels, and for like the way he comes off. This guy develops a pocket universe. He somehow gets Metamorpho to go in there by hijacking his baby, which is another stupid thing. Then he kidnaps Crypto, which is like the most annoying thing in the whole movie. And he puts him, like, tortures him and stuff. And then when he gets Superman and lures him into this pocket universe, the most dumbest thing I've ever seen happens. This really pissed me off. We in the movie we see a moment where Superman is helped up by a civilian, right? After he crash lands in the middle of the street or in the sidewalk. And Lex somehow finds that guy, brings him to the pocket universe where in that, little area that he has Superman locked in, shoots him in the head right in front of Superman, and then we know that he tortures Crypto, right? The moment Crypto gets loose, he goes right at Lex, starts beating the shit out of him, and Superman is mad at Crypto for beating Lex up. I would be like, dude, just murdered a guy in front of me, shot him in the head, cold blood, tortured Crypto, and you're mad at the dog? Really? I mean, what am I? How badly written is that? I mean, am I missing something here? Like, how can you be mad at the dog? He's doing what his instincts tell him to do. This guy tortured me. He shot another guy in the head. He deserves an ass whooping, right? But then the funny thing is, Crypto gets him and throws him around, beats him up, and Lex gets up and he's crying like a little girl, like a tear. Oh, I'm shedding a tear. Oh, I gotta cry it out. He's a pussy. And he has a couple little scars, no broken bones after the ass whooping that Crypto gave him. You would expect, at least a couple broken bones. I mean, like, Jesus, man, like he bounces all over the place and shit. It was as bad as when Lois in Superman Returns is on the plane and the plane's like going crazy. She's like bouncing all over the place, and then she gets up and like had a broken bone in the body. She's fine, a-okay. How does that work? The physics and logic in these movies are beyond laughable. And I understand it's about a guy who has superhuman strength and can fly and do all these amazing things, but he is on Earth and he's still bound by the physics and the laws of Earth, even though he can do all these amazing things. That's why he's Superman, right? Doesn't mean everybody else around him has super abilities. Who don't have super abilities, like regular humans, not meta humans, just regular humans, like Lex should have been dead, right? At that point. But Superman getting mad at Crypto, I mean, that was ridiculous. It was just stupid. The beginning of the movie, starts off again with the ice scene where he crash lands, and Crypto like comes and rescues him and bounces all over him. You guys seen that, the trailers and everything. Then he drags him to the Fortress of Solitude, where, for some reason, the robot's in there, and one of them is played by the brilliant Alan Tudyk, who I love. He's an amazing actor, very funny comedic actor. Resident Alien is one of my favorite shows, even though I just heard it got canceled, which sucks, because I'm a big fan of that series. But he plays Gary the robot, and while I like Alan Tudyk, and I think anything he's in is always funny. In this movie, while there's nothing wrong with him in the movie, he's perfectly fine. The fact that Superman is mourning the destruction of a robot when people are dying in the streets, okay, and he's there mourning a robot, which later is rebuilt without a problem. And not only that, they even have a new hiree, some female robot, played I think by Grace Chan, if I remember right. Anyway, Michael Rooker, whatever, however you pronounce the name, also played a robot in this. The which again, no issues with the robots. They're fine. They're funny, I guess. The humor wasn't very funny to me. But the fact that they were rebuilt so easily, and he's there mourning like it's a big deal. It's a freaking robot, dude. And by the way, the robots in Man of Steel actually like could hurt Superman. Like they were tough. They weren't like pussy robots. Like these robots feel like campy, like cheesy, like Jetsons robots, kind of like 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 I don't know. They was just too campy for me. But when you're looking at a movie which is supposed to, be more serious, and you throw that in there, it would work. Here, since there's a lot of silly aspects to the movie, it just makes it feel more campy. So that's why it doesn't work. It doesn't give you that moment of like humor to break like the tension, right? Which you would need in a more serious Superman movie. So there's that aspect that's missing from the movie because the rest of the movie is campy as hell. There's scenes which make absolutely no sense. It's like some shots are like they're just put together because the cinematic aspect of the ratio looks kind of cool and the Superman pose looks kind of cool in one way. But storyline wise, the movie fails from the very beginning. And one thing I really, really didn't like was this movie kind of felt like Passion of the Clark. Like throughout like the whole movie, like he's getting his ass whooped, and I'm like, can we like, like have a moment to, like let him beat some people up and not get his ass whooped? Like at one point, like he breaks his hand, or like he puts like the bone back in place, and then Mr. Terrific tells him, "Hey, quit playing around." And he's like, "I'm not playing around," and he like like faints back or whatever. Which that's right after he I don't know, I guess he killed Ultraman when he threw him in the uh, black hole. And I mean, nothing survives a black hole, right? I don't think Ultraman would survive it, but somehow Superman survived it thanks to Metamorpho and uh, the stretching and all that stuff that he was able to do to save him. But Ultraman didn't get the same look, so I don't think he made it. I'd be very surprised if he did. But remember, this is not like the Ultraman from the comics, so like he is created as an avatar. But maybe when he goes in there, like he goes to like actual Bizarro world and he becomes Bizarro, like because he's very Bizarro like. So maybe that's where like he ends up becoming Bizarro and he lands on Bizarro world and that's the Bizarro going forward. Um, and that will be his home planet at that point. But, in this movie, Ultraman is literally like an avatar for Lex. Like, which is really stupid. He cloned Superman, then he uses the clone to be Ultraman so he can fight Superman, and then it's revealed that it's just a clone of Superman. It wouldn't actually. Some of the rumors had Henry Cavill playing Ultraman, which would have been great and would have been like shocking, right, if that would actually happen. But uh, they failed to do that. Uh, so it was just David Cornswell with long hair, which is funny because there was actually footage of Henry Cavill with long hair shortly before the movie came out, and it was because he's doing Highlander, and I guess he has long hair in Highlander and stuff, and people were like, "Oh man, he might be actually Ultraman." In this movie, this one scene you can kind of like see long hair in one of the clips online, and there was a little hype on that for a while, but it turns out it's just David Cornsweet with long hair, a wig or whatever. But the aspect of him being able to fight Superman was so stupid because again he's an avatar. So Lex has to literally like with this group of minions running the computers, he has to tell them F1, F4, like press this key, press. So he has to say what to press to fight him. They have to type it in. That takes seconds, guys. Okay. Superman is working in real time. Lex is working behind, several seconds because he's given the command. How the hell Superman like even, having a challenge here? And how is Lex giving the command and getting written by his minions, even competing. I mean, it should be like Superman should just beat the shit out of this guy. That whole thing made no sense. It was just stupidly written. Look, the worst part of what James Gunn does is his ego gets in the way and he thinks he knows better than anybody else. And he wrote this movie, directed this movie, and he's not a good writer. Like, he cinematically could get some nice shots from time to time. He did okay with Guardians of the Galaxy. I'll give him that. The first one was good. In a cinematic universe, you have to have a reason for doing things, right? Because this is cinema. It's not kids' comics anymore. Now we're talking about cinema where parents, kids, teenagers, everybody's going to go see these movies. So you want to have something that makes sense. A lot of what Lex does here makes no sense. It's badly written as Bruce Wayne in Men of Steel, or in Batman v Superman. Sorry. If you remember, in that one, he hates Superman again because he's an alien. He doesn't trust him. Yada yada yada. Same storyline, different asshole. So they swapped Bruce Wayne for Lex in this one, but it's the same basic storyline, same reason for hating Superman. I'm tired of the whole angry world against Superman. Everybody turns on this guy. This is a snuff movie for crying out loud. They should call this The Passion of the Clark because like it's a 2 hour snuff film. He gets his ass beat by monsters, by a dog. Everybody beats the crap out of this guy. Gets his arm broken. Miss Terrific makes fun of him. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, he spends most of the movie bleeding, getting his ass whooped. And again, I want to see a Superman that really makes me believe that a man can fly. I want to see a Superman movie that brings me back to 1980s when I first started watching the series with Christopher Reeve, and I first started watching the first one in the mid 80s when I was a kid, and that was when it was still on just in home video when just home videos were a big thing, VHS and all that stuff. When that came out, one of the first movies that we got was Superman '78 when that came out. And I was lucky again to see Superman 4. Not a good movie, but as a kid, loved it. And that was because of how much I believed in Christopher Reeve as Superman. And in this one, I didn't believe. Corn Sweat didn't sell me as Superman, and maybe it wasn't his fault. A lot of it goes down to the writing and the directing. And again, James Gunn is not a good writer. He is not a great director. And the cinematography was sometimes it looked nice, nothing special. Special effects seen a billion times before. In fact, I was really disappointed in the special effects in this movie because it really had the elements of The Flash in it. And while I love Michael Keaton in The Flash, the special effects were shitty. And this had a lot of that in it. In fact, the director of Brave and the Bold is Andy Muschietti. He directed The Flash, so it makes kind of sense why the effects here look kind of like The Flash. They look kind of shitty because you have kind of like the same art house making the effects for this movie that made The Flash. And Andy Muschietti's not a very good director either. He proved it with The Flash. He took Michael Keaton, who's a great Batman, and made a shitty movie. It flopped horribly. And somehow the movie flops, is a piece of shit movie. The special effects are criticized, but let's give them Batman. Let's use the same people that made the shitty effects to make our DCU effects. Warner Brothers, what the hell is wrong with you? I mean, who's running this show, really? Is it Peter Safran? Is it James Gunn? Who is making the decision? Is it the monkeys in the Pocket Universe? I mean, really, who's running the ship over there?
No comment.
Okay.
No comment.
Okay.
How do you have a guy who directed flops like Andy Muschietti with The Flash, James Gunn with The Suicide Squad, And these are the guys that you're gonna have Superman and Batman in charge of. I mean, really, like that? These are your answers to Superman and Batman, your two biggest IPs. To have guys who made movies that flopped for DC. I mean, what the hell's going on? I mean, are you purposely trying to tank any future of Warner Brothers having a good cohesive DC universe? Because I mean, this is just a bad way to start. The movie again fails in every aspect. Superman was just badly written, badly acted, poorly decided way of doing this movie. Characters were very bland, boring, and not really just anything to even remember. I've seen the movie twice, and it's very forgettable. I still remember aspects of even Superman Returns and Man of Steel, but this movie, after seeing it twice, it's just like nothing really special happens. Like nothing in this movie is something that I'm gonna go home and be like, I'll never forget that moment in the movie. Not for any good reasons, anyway. And again, there's a lot of mistakes that happened in this movie which could have been so easily better written. But James Gunn is just not the guy. And I'm not a fan of the DCEU. I didn't like anybody in that movie at all. The way they cast them, the way they wrote them, except for Henry Cavill. I thought he was the only one that was well cast. So I'm not like a Snyder cultist, like they needed to bring back the Snyder universe. No, I don't care about that. I just want a good Superman movie. And again, Warner Brothers has let me down. I'm gonna tell you right now, I gave Superman Returns a 3 out of 10. Man of Steel, I gave it a 6 out of 10, and Superman 2025, uh, a 5 out of 10. That's how bad this thing was. Slightly better than Superman Returns, worse than Man of Steel, and not a good way to start off the DCU. It's it opened up okay at 125 million opening week. It had a drop off, obviously, of 50 something percent second week. Third week now coming up with Fantastic Four. We're going to see how the drop off works. But I'm not satisfied with this as a reboot for Superman at all. So again, 5 out of 10 for me. Very dissatisfied. I probably will never see this movie again. And it is what it is. Again, Warner Brothers fails to at least give me in my lifetime a good Superman movie. I'm a fan, and all I want is a damn good Superman movie. Not one that gives us the same shit we've seen before. A rehash of what we've already gotten. Again, do we really need to see Superman try to seed Krypton on Earth? Do we really need to see that over and over again? I mean, do we have other storylines that we can do? I mean, it happened in Superman Returns where Lex wanted to create new Krypton on Earth. It happened in Man of Steel when Zod wanted to bring Krypton to Earth and use the Codex out of Superman's body. It happens here where we find out Jor-El and Laura sent Superman Earth to reseed the population with Kryptonians. You get it? They're repeating the same shit over and over and over and over. You know, changing Earth to Krypton, bringing back Kryptonians. Okay, it's boring. Stop using this plot line. Stop it, Warner Brothers. Don't let another writer write this shit that uses it. When you get the script, if you see that in there, fire the motherfucker right there. Just let him go. That's it. Because he obviously does not get that this has been tried before and it's never worked. And another thing, stop hiring directors to work for Marvel. It didn't work with Bryan Singer. Didn't work with Joss Whedon. It didn't work here with James Gunn. It doesn't work. Stop doing it. This Superman movie is the biggest disappointment of 2025. Love the character. Like the color on the suit. Like the trunks on the outside. Everything else, huge failure. Storyline, failure. Script, garbage. The cast didn't like anybody in this movie except again Guy Gardner, Nathan Fillion was fine, but not enough in the movie. Not really as funny as I was expecting. Didn't do it, much in the movie really. Mr. Terrific didn't like him at all. Even Lois Lane, which she wasn't badly cast in the movie. Rachel Brosnahan, who played Lois, well cast, but they did nothing really good with her. The fact that she knows, Clark is Superman, and this is year three, and she's never gotten an interview at this point, really, and then Superman gets mad because she asks him a couple of very logical questions, and he's like, "But people were gonna die," and then he lets people die to save a squirrel. Really, Superman, Clark, really? Stop, guys. Just Warner Brothers, stop. Make sure when you have a writer write a Superman script that he knows what the hell he's doing, that he knows how to put together a good storyline, and stop getting hacks to write Superman. 5 out of 10, guys. That's my review. Now, if you like what you hear, great. Either way, though, do me a favor. Remember, hit the subscribe button, share, notification, and give me the finger, the thumbs up. And now that the video is going to be over soon, make sure you, once it's done, leave a comment below. Like I said before, the best things in life happen below. So leave your comments if you have anything you want me to review in the future. Say it out there. Maybe I'll get to it. Maybe I'll lose my control with my ego like the Lex in this stupid movie. And I'll say, no, I will not do it. Then I'll create a pocket universe and throw your ass in there and have you tortured like poor Crypto. Or maybe not. Till next time, peace.
Me. Night sand.